I like to start with the, oh, sorry. I like to start with a good song of ennui before we come to the surface. Isn't that great? Yeah. I remember he had done that at Town Hall in New York City, and I've kept it in the back of my mind for a long time as a possibility for here and for this week's talk, which is called I've Gotta Be Me, so you might know what song is closing the song. I've gotta be me, but I thought about what kind of fool am I that I wouldn't trust God completely? What kind of fool am I that I wouldn't be wildly in love with all that God is? How crazy am I that I would trust the appearances of the world rather than the invisible presence of God that exists everywhere? That I am so crazy, I am such a fool, that if you were to say something unkind to me, I would take that to heart instead of ask myself to be willing to see the Christ in you. That's what kind of fool am I. That I would choose to be offended rather than in love. Now, I'm not stupid for being a fool. I'm just foolish for being a fool. I'm insane for being a fool. I ask the wrong questions. I'm guessing some of you do too. A big question that you could set down forever, and I've said this before, is why? Set down that question. Put it away. You don't need it anymore. Why will not serve you? Because there's no satisfactory answer to it. There's only a momentary egoic satisfaction to the question why. Now you could ask, what for? Anything you think you want to do, what for? What purpose does this serve? How will I awaken to a desiring God even more from this? Well, is the purpose of this so that I may know God to a greater degree, or is it, and I know it seems like almost the same thing, but I'm telling you now, why and what for, there's a fine line. You want to know what for. You want to know your purpose. Remember, like our mission here, our mission is to continually discover, demonstrate, and educate that our source of good is God within. And so, what for? Is this for our mission, or does this distract us from our mission? Anything we want to do here. And so we have to think about that. You might want to think, what is your mission? What is your mission? Thought about our retreat this year, the mission of our retreat, of one power, one presence, the end of duality. And so our mission is to let everything guide everyone's thoughts to oneness. 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 That is ultimately the mission of the retreat. And so all activities must reinforce that mission. If my mission, and believe me, I do not always live up to my personal mission, which is to remember that I am good and to remind you that you are good. And it's easy in this group setting. So, oh, you're good, you're good, you're good. Oh, you're so good. You're good, you're good, you're good, you're good. And then Monday comes. Even Sunday afternoon. Even Sunday afternoon can come. And suddenly something comes up and my memory is short-circuited. And I forget that I am good. And what happens when I forget that I am good is I forget that you are good. It's not that I forget you're good and then I forget I'm good. It always starts with I forget I'm good. A little thought of lack will come in. You know, I'll go to a restaurant and the waitress won't be as nice as I think she'll be. Or the food won't be as delicious as I was expecting. David noticed that it was after the first time I did Vipassana. And I had come back here. I drove back that Sunday morning after 10 days in the silence. And did my talk, and we went to the diner. And it took a while for the food, and then everybody's food came but mine. Wait. What David noticed is I didn't seem to care. That was the unusual thing. I was perfectly calm until my food came. It took 10 days of silence. That's mentioned to get to that. I bet it didn't take 10 days to get my aggravation back. I don't recall. But it's that denial of who we really are that makes us fools. It is that denial of what God is that makes us fools. That what the kind of fool I am is the kind that forgets his divinity and then forgets yours. My divine nature, my light. Charles Fillmore, Unity's co-founder, talks about man. This is my new favorite book. We're going to do a class on it, I believe. As far as I know, we're going to do a 9:30 class again in September. We're going to start doing back there for about 10, 12 weeks on dynamics for living. Hopefully Joan ordered the book this week. They're coming in. It's a compilation of Charles Fillmore's works, and it was put out in 1967. And I picked it up off the shelf about a month ago, just as something to take with me to lunch. And I fell in love with it. And just look at this. This is yesterday's chapter I was reading by the beach. That, and there's that, and there's that. Almost every word is highlighted or underlined. And I was reading about man this week. And it's about the spiritual nature of man. Charles wants to let us know that we are the greatest thing. Because we are a divine idea of God in expression. I forget that sometimes. Charles Fillmore, in just about everything he wrote, said that man is a divine idea of God come into manifestation. Do you treat yourself like you're a divine idea of God? Even part of the day? How much of your day do you treat yourself and think about yourself as a divine idea of God in expression? That your body was a divine idea. Your mind and every tissue and every fiber of your body was a divine idea. Now to me, within a divine idea, there's no room for guilt. There's no room for shame for what I have done to my body. I'm not here to shame us for what we haven't done so far. I'm here to give us the thought. I could take on the thought right now, I am a divine idea of God. There's no ego in that. There's no superiority in it. There is knowing I am a divine idea. I am a divine idea of God in expression. I don't know what that means, but it's good. It's got to be good. Don't you agree? That's got to be something great. A divine idea of God in expression. And there's Charles, the New Thought, and Charles Fillmore specifically talks about it, that we are one in three areas of expression: mind, idea, expression. Mind, idea, that is our Holy Trinity. Mind, idea, expression. It starts in the invisible, just as energy. And then there is the idea of something, and then it comes into form from the idea. Everything, all of us started in mind and developed into an idea, and then here we are. Poof. Look at us. How dare we call anyone ugly or anything ugly? There's no need to ever do that again. Just because you don't respond to it like, ooh, I'd like to own that, doesn't mean it's ugly. David and I had a rule when we were setting up our homes, which was, we don't buy anything we don't both like, and I don't want to hear the word ugly if you don't like what I've picked out, because that offends my sensibilities. There's got to be another way. I said, I don't really care for that. It's very different than, oh, that ugly thing. Why would you want that? So we don't do that. We say, okay, and trust between two individuals who were having troubles remembering they were good began to develop. And then we woke up to the realization, oh, I trust God. And because I trust God, I can trust Him. Because I trust God, I am trustworthy. That's the coolest thing in my life now, is I realize, oh, I'm particularly trustworthy. I have moments. I won't come into your house and steal from you, but I might express an opinion when I leave your house. And I'm not proud of that fact. But you don't have to worry about leaving the table. For fear you will be attacked. But I love this. Charles Fillmore says, man is an idea in divine mind. He is the epitome of being. Man is the apex of God's creation, created in his image likeness. Ideal man is the perfect man, the Christ, the offspring of divine mind. Before there could be a man, there must have been an idea of man. God, the Father, divine mind, had an idea of man, and this idea is his Son. This Son is the Christ, the only begotten of the Father, the Son being the expressed image likeness of the Father. He is perfect, even as the Father is perfect. All that we find in divine mind, we find in its offspring. So what we're saying here is, we may have to look a little deeper than the surface to see what is really in front of us. I wrote down on a piece of paper the other day that if, how did I put it? I would see, well, I'll make it up now. I would see God if I weren't busy seeing all that isn't God. I would see God in everything if I weren't so busy seeing what isn't God. And it's like I try to see what isn't God. And let me tell you why. My senses like to be satisfied. And so I'm looking for the sensational. I'm looking for what's going to give me a high or a low. And then I'm looking for how I can avoid that sensation and create a different one. And then I'll look to avoid that one and create yet another one. I'll try to have thoughts that upset me. And then I'll eat food to assuage that upset. And then I'll just, because I don't drink anymore, so I got to do something else, so I got to eat, or start an argument, or have thoughts about you that says you are less than godlike. That's not being me. That's being who I'm not. I've got to be me. I've got to be the one who was made in the perfect image and likeness of God. That's me. That's who I am. I'm not a fool. I only behave as one. But the I am of me is the Son of God. The I am of me is the direct offspring and the idea of God in expression. What would you be willing to do today? To be you. To be you today. To say, okay, would you take the time to forgive yourself for when you haven't been you? For when you've been seeing yourself as something else or someone else? Instead of seeing yourself as your parents' child, say, I am God's child. I'm God's child today. At this age, my parents are really my brothers and sisters. At this age, none of us in this room, I think right now, are 10. We may feel like it, but really, we're old enough now to say, God is my mother and my father. God is my parents. God is my parents, not my earthly parents. So you know what? It's time to identify with God. It's time to identify myself with everything that God is. I'll identify every aspect of my being with everything that God is, and I'll begin to look at you and say, okay, you're God being you. I'm God being me. Let's start telling the truth. Let's start looking at each other, because I've had enough of being afraid of you. I don't want to be afraid of what you might say to me if I say I love you. I don't want to be afraid that you would leave me. I don't want to be afraid anymore. So God has got to be my parent. And we are all the offspring of God. We there's no bad offspring of God. There's some poorly behaved ones. But there's confused ones. And sometimes I'm the confused one, and sometimes I need you to remind me of who I really am. Sometimes you need me to remind you. But the truth is, I gotta be me. I've just got to be me. When I started praying about 18 years ago, in earnest, when I started saying, okay, God, I really want to know you better. I really want to know what this God is. And it's not so I can tell people what God is, it's so that I can have this divine experience of what God is. And I began to have it. I got down on my knees, and every day I prayed. And I prayed to know God better before I prayed for stuff. My prayer was, God, I am willing to know you better today. God, I surrender to you, God, and whatever that means. Because I didn't know what it meant, but I knew God did. And what happened is, instantaneously, my life got easier. Instantaneously, overnight, my life changed. A lot of the circumstances were the same, but I suddenly had intuition on how to perceive them. Because I started to see myself differently. I started to see myself as love. I started to see myself as both loved and love itself. And as I began to see myself as love, well, then I could be less afraid. I had my ups and downs with it, but nonetheless, I still knew that even when I'm afraid, there is only love. So I'm making up the fear. I'm making up the fear to hold on to an old way of thinking, but that's all I'm doing. I'm making it up. But the me, the I am of it all, well, that was something. That was really something. But I just sat, and I breathed, and just heard subtly, softly, you're good. And you can't not be good, Shawn. You can try to pretend you're not, but you can't not be good. You are made in the image and likeness of God. You're not made in the image and likeness of an old man. You're not made in the image and likeness of that. You're made in the image and likeness of a divine idea, of the perfection of all that is. And so take that with you every day, every moment of every day. Surrender every thought. Surrender every idea. Surrender everything you think you know over to what is. Because you want to be you, Shawn. You want to be all the good that you are and experience all of the good that you are. When my teachers told me, Shawn, it's your thoughts that are holding your good out from you. Not God and not other people. If you're having any lack of any kind, it's because you're entertaining the thoughts of lack. You brought them home for dinner, and you're entertaining them, but you're not living up to God's image of you, to the true image of what you are. You can't complain about lack anymore, Shawn, because nothing's being withheld. There's no love being withheld. There's no physical object being withheld. Nobody's withholding anything. So go ahead and accept the love that is, the peace that is, the joy that is. Go ahead and accept that you are so good, and you can't not be so good. Go ahead and accept God is so good all the time. And here's the other one. Go ahead and accept everybody else is so good all the time, even when they don't seem very good. Imagine you look out that window and you decide everybody is good. A minister friend of mine had a white light experience. He was using Catherine Ponder's book, The Healing Secrets of the Ages. And I think it was the 6th one, but I'm not sure. But it was about naming everything good in the room. And he started doing that. And he named the chair, his chair is good, and God is in this, and God is in this, and this is good, this is good. He ran out of things in the room, and he threw open the blinds in the window, and he started to look outside, and he started to name everything outside good, till suddenly he could only see white. He couldn't see anything but white for a long time. And he just had to lay down. And that was his white light experience. And he had a realization of oneness. And that's what led him to become a minister, was that realization of oneness. And he wanted to pass that along. He basically gave up his dream for a reality. And that is what is possible for us. You've got to choose. I've got to choose all the time. What for? What do I want this for? Do I want this to shame myself? Or do I want this? Is this so that I can know God better? Is this so I can desire God better? What for? What for? You need not concern yourself about everybody else. Oh no, if I get this, this means somebody else loses. No, you ask what for, and you let Spirit answer you. You let that highest voice within you answer you. You need not concern yourself for lack. You say, yes, God, today I am willing to be me. Yes, God, today I am willing to be me. Yes, God, I am willing to be me today. Show me how. Show me me. Show me me. Show me me. And one can say, no, I just gotta be.